chase at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Toss here. Nixon's going to throw. Open man. Caught. Higgins. Touchdown.
Drives. Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, a lot's been going on this week. We got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do. A lot. A lot of great Bengal coverage on ESPN and NFL Network. Training Camp Live was there this week, obviously with the Hall of Fame and Ken Riley. And big signings. So there's a lot to talk about today, and let's do it.
Let's get right to it. Let's start with the birthday boy himself, the late, great Ken Riley. Today being his birthday. Man, oh man, what an incredible ceremony for Ken Riley. We've talked about it on the show since the inception of the Bengals Pulse. Ken Riley, one of the most deserving players that should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. Maan hasn't taken a snap in 40-something years and is still in the top 5 all-time in the NFL for interceptions. What an incredible player, and what an incredible ceremony for his son and his family. Congratulations to all the Rileys. It was just a great moment, not only for Ken Riley and his family, but for Bengal fans everywhere. Something we've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, it was great to see. I mean, you always make fun of my age, but I do remember watching Ken Riley play. He was a great player, and he just seeing his family up there. His son did an amazing job with that speech, and they had a nice 18, 20-minute video on YouTube the Bengals put out, the Hall of Fame put out. That's great. That chronicled his career. He's a Florida guy from Bartow, Florida. Just an outstanding football player, even better human being. Successful at Florida A&M as athletic director. Just an absolute amazing person. It's a little bittersweet. I'm so grateful and happy for the family, but I wish he was still alive to see it. This should have happened years ago. You don't accidentally get 65 interceptions in the NFL. It doesn't happen by accident. He was a phenomenal football player. And, he just got caught up in the numbers. There's such a backlog of great NFL players that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And it's just amazing that he's only the second Bengal to get in. There should be more. But, congratulations to the Riley family. It's well-deserved, and I'm glad he's in.
I am too. And I think, we talk about Bengals that should be in the Hall of Fame. Just really quick, Maan, who do you think is going to be next? Obviously, Willie Anderson and Ken Anderson both are right there in the mix. You think we could see a double dose next year of Bengals in the Hall of Fame, or do you think it could be one, or do you think we're going to have to wait another year until one of those two deserving players gets in?
Yeah, I hope both get in next year. I hope it happens. I don't think it will. Yeah, I don't think it will. I think Willie Anderson actually has a better chance this year than Ken Anderson. I just don't see the Veterans Committee putting two Bengals in back-to-back. Kenny Anderson should have been in years ago. But I think Willie Anderson, to me, has a better chance getting in this year. I would love to see both. I just want other players that can't even get into the room for a discussion to at least have an opportunity. Players like Isaac Curtis. You compare Isaac Curtis stats to Lynn Swann's stats. Lynn Swann's in the Hall of Fame. He's won the Super Bowls with the Steelers, the super teams, all those elite players. Isaac Curtis can't even get discussed, and his stats are better and on par with him. And it's just things like that frustrate Bengal fans. And one other thing, Jake, let's give a shout out. Ken Riley's son did it yesterday to Bengal Jim. Bengal Jim has really been aggressive with Jungle to the Hall flying
Absolutely.
across the country, doing things to get Bengal players, to get their name out there, to get them, get these voters to talk about him. And Bengal Jim has done a great job, and he's just a phenomenal. He is he's the backbone of the Bengal fandom. He really is. He's the glue, and we love him on the show.
And what a class act, by Ken Riley II mentioning that. I
Yes,
just think yes, you're right. I mean, Bengal Jim obviously has done an outstanding job and really is the backbone of this fan base and really has become the glue, and a good friend of the show. So yes, you're right. Bengal Jim has done an outstanding job, and I'm with you on the Willie Ken thing. I think Willie has a better chance, but I think Ken Anderson. I just think it's a travesty that Ken Anderson is not in the Hall of Fame. I
I
think
agree.
I think that hopefully, I'm hoping, because what an incredible trip to Canton that would be, Mon, for you and I to go witness both Andersons getting in at the same time. So next year, hopefully, we see that Ken Anderson on that senior list and Willie Anderson. I think one of them definitely gets in, if not both. But hopefully, we see both of them get in.
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough for the Veterans Committee. I think on the 22nd of August they will vote. I don't know if they're going to release it right away, but sometimes that stuff trickles out. And we'll find out soon enough, and keeping our fingers crossed. They're both very deserving, and we'll see.
Well, once again, congratulations to Ken Riley's wife, Barbara, his son, Ken Riley II, all the Riley family. Just an incredible moment for them, an incredible moment for Bengaldom everywhere. And man, oh man, I just want to see more of that. You just want to
Yes.
see more of that because we have Bengals that are so deserving of giving that same opportunity. And quite frankly, you don't want to see the same situation happen again, right? Where that Bengal player is not able to stand up there when he's deserving to. So hopefully we get two in next year. There was a game, Mon, if you call it that, just an ugly display. It's preseason, obviously. The Cleveland Brown fans already think they're going to win the Super Bowl after watching them come back and beat the Jets in the Hall of Fame preseason game. Cleveland Brown fans, I don't know what to tell you. That's just get used to it because that's what your football games are going to look like throughout the entire year. Just a sloppy mess of a game. I don't care who started and who didn't start, but get used to that, Cleveland Brown fans. All right, any takeaways from the game? I mean, obviously, again, it's just bad football all around. But anything that you took away from it?
Jake, I knew there was a game, and I did watch some plays, but I honestly didn't know who won until you just said so. I don't know. I honestly didn't. I was watching the Reds. I was going back and forth. I think I watched maybe the first, maybe 10 minutes of the first quarter, and to me, it was just an afterthought. I didn't care. No,
Yeah.
I'm glad football is back,
Yeah,
but
right.
the Hall of Fame game is usually just second, third stringers only because it's. Remember back in the day, you played 4 preseason games, and the team that got the NFL Hall of Fame, that was their 5th game, so they really didn't play anybody. But
Right.
this weekend's going to be the first real preseason in my books, starting Thursday.
Yes, and we have a game on Friday, right? August
Yes.
11th in Paycor Stadium. We are giving away tickets for that game. So if you have not gone on and followed the Bengals Pulse, go on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. Give us a follow and comment so you can enter to win tickets to the Bengals Packers next Friday, August 11th. Again, I'm not really sure what you're going to see, what players are going to play. Hopefully, you're not going to see a lot, a lot of the starters. I don't think you will. I think, obviously, big practice coming up on Wednesday where you're going to have that inter squad practice, Bengals Packers. We're going to get to that in just a second. But it is exciting that football is back. It's really, especially being a Reds fan, Mon. I'm not giving up on them, but man, oh man, we'll talk about them later. They look just like a circus right now. So let's talk about training camp this week, Mon. Before we get to the big signing, a lot has gone on this week. We had another scare, right, in Travion Williams going down. Some people made it out worse than it really was. Ended up being a ankle sprain. I don't even think it was a high ankle, was it? So I would think that Travion Williams would be back here in a week or so. Obviously, no real update on Joe Burrow's injury. I think. I don't really agree with Jamar Chase. I don't want to see him back week 5. I would rather see him week 1, which I think Joe Burrow is going to be playing week 1. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I appreciate his teammate and longtime close friend Jamar Chase sticking up for him. But Jamar, let's make sure Joe's playing week 1, Mom. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw that interview on NFL Live, not NFL Live, on Training Camp Live on NFL Network. Yeah. And I think, I personally think he was doing a little bit of trolling there. And I think
so too. I think that could be the case, though.
I think he was trolling a little bit. He doubled down a little bit today, but all he's saying is, hey, I just want to be right. Jamar Chase mentioned that he took an extra week off last year when he hurt his hip. Wanted to make sure he was 100%. Ian Rappaport, a couple of the other NFL national beat writers, they were mentioning, I think Jesse Palmer was one of them, that they've been in the building at Paul Brown Stadium at training camp, and they don't sense any type of angst or any type of concern from Bengal management concerning Joe Burrow. He'll be there week 1. I have no doubt. Travion Williams, I'm glad. I don't think it's a serious ankle injury. They're expecting big things from him. I think they'll give him a couple weeks off. He'll ramp it up and start playing. But, these first couple preseason games, we have a lot of young, exciting players. You're going to see a lot of action from them. And let's talk about them, Jake.
Let's talk about them. I do want to say this about Travion Williams. I just want to ask you this, Mon. Do you think if Travion doesn't get the snaps, because obviously, he's been a big factor in the last preseasons since he's been on the roster. Do you think he needs these reps? I mean, do you think he still is fighting for a job? Is he fighting with any of those other running backs for that 3rd or 4th spot? I don't think so. I think he's in good shape, but I want to hear from you. What do you think? Is he a guy that needs to get in there and get those reps?
I don't think he's fighting for a roster spot. I think his roster spot's pretty much guaranteed. He's a Texas A&M guy. He's been there for years. He was under the Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis drafted him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Is this his 5th year? I think it is his 5th year on the team.
Fifth year,
I think he showed enough last year. He's developed. He's been in the building. He was the kick returner. He beat out Chris Evans. I think he's pretty much secured. I think the only thing that might hinder him if that ankle injury flares up, maybe they put him on IR. We don't know exactly. I don't think that's the case. A few weeks ago, I was sitting there thinking the Bengals are only keeping 3 running backs. I think they keep 4. I really think they're going to keep 4. I think Evans.
So Chris Evans is 4? Wow.
Yeah, I think Chris Evans makes the team. Chase Brown, workhorse at Illinois, playing a lot of snaps. He's a great player. Listen, he had some little fumble issues. We need to monitor that a little bit. I mean, he hasn't carried a ball yet in the pros. But I think the Bengals are going to keep 4 because, they expect big things from Chase Brown, but let's see him play a little bit. I can see Chris Evans sticking on the team and the Bengals keeping 4 running backs.
Do you think – I'm just throwing this out here because, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Do you think if this injury lingers, is there any chance that the Ezekiel Elliott talks happen again? I'm just asking because, again, Travion Williams is that guy. He's that good pass pro back that we were expecting to come in and take over for P. Ryan. Chris Evans really not known to do that. Chase Brown, a rookie. Joe Mixon, we already know about his pass pro. Something that he's always been working on. So I'm just saying, do you think if it lingers, Ezekiel Elliott is still out there? Is there any Ezekiel Elliott talk that pops up?
I think a veteran running back, I think the Bengals would consider and look at it. I don't know if it'll be Elliott. Paul Dehner mentioned, maybe his podcast just reappeared recently. He did mention that when Samaje Perine did leave, the Bengals offered him, they matched the contract
Yes, they
that the
did.
Broncos gave him. They matched it and actually gave him a little more. He wanted to go,
the
to
guy.
a new team. Exactly. He wanted to get more carries. He wasn't exactly sure what was going to happen with the Joe Mixon situation there. And that shows me how, they love that veteran presence, and they want to, I think they do want another vet running back. They did draft, like I said, Chase Brown has a lot of potential. He's a rookie. I think they're going to go 4 running backs. I wouldn't be surprised if they reconsider and look at maybe a veteran cut, maybe Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know. He is still out there. I don't know how much legs that really had in the offseason. I don't know if the Bengals were really that interested. It might have been his agent trying to drum up some interest. I don't know.
It could have been.
It could have been, yeah. But I think the Bengals, depending on Travion Williams and that ankle, yes, I think they will revisit and look at a vet running back.
I'm with you. I get what you're saying about the Ezekiel Elliott situation, but I don't know. I feel like that had a little bit of legs. Again, Ezekiel Elliott is almost an identical clone, maybe more athletic, but he's almost an identical clone to Samaje Perine, where they both are right now in their careers. So I do think that might have had a little bit of legs. I think it'll be interesting to see if Travion's injury does linger. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see because a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, he is a type of player. He is a vet. He doesn't need a lot of the reps, right? He's a guy that could come in, that second week or the week of the second preseason game. I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if this Travion Williams injury lingers. But let's talk about
one other thing.
Go ahead.
One other thing, Jake. I mean, I don't know if this could happen. The Joe Mixon situation, the legal issues. Could there be a potential NFL discipline? Maybe 1 game, 2 game. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it could. And then guess what? The Bengals might be down a player, and they might revisit that situation. I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see. That's a fluid situation at running back, and there's going to be a lot of possibilities out there. So we'll see.
Well, I think Maan, about that Joe Mixon thing, and obviously what you're talking about is this new case that might be filed against him. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. What we heard about this week. I don't know, Maan. I don't see anything coming from that. And again, people have gone after Joe Mixon about this situation because obviously this situation has lingered. But I don't think the Bengals are at all concerned about it. I don't think Joe Mixon is concerned. I don't see that. I could be wrong, but I don't know how much legs that really has.
What was filed this week is a civil case. It's a lawsuit civilly.
Right.
What I'm talking about is the pending charges, the criminal charges. That's what I'm talking about. Once that gets rectified, hey, pay a fine, this, that, and this. The NFL could say, hey, they could fine him or they could suspend him a game. I don't know. I hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
But that's something to monitor. And, of course, that's going to have a lot of say-so with our running back situation on this roster.
No, that's a good point. I mean, you bring up a good point. I think what you and I are both trying to say is that maybe that third or fourth running back is not on the roster right now in Cincinnati. It could be very interesting to see. We just saw Houston get signed today by Carolina. I mean, there's still Ngakoue, I think, where he signed with the Bears. I mean,
$10 million. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these free agents are starting to pop a little bit now that have been sitting out there, and there are a couple running backs that are there if the Bengals are interested in bringing a vet in and seeing what that looks like in case the Joe Mixon situation, in case the Travion Williams injury. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But let's move on, Mon, because you want to talk about these young guys in camp. Listen, if these receivers keep playing like they are right now in camp, we're not going to have to run the football, Mon. I know you hate to hear that because you are a run first guy. But man, Trent Irwin makes it. These guys, this receiving core is so deep, Mon. There's going to be one or two guys getting cut or getting sent to the practice squad that are going to get scooped up by somebody because this Bengal receiving core is loaded with talent. Loaded, Mon.
Yes, I mean if you make this Bengal roster, the active roster, you earned it. You earned it.
Yes,
I think Dave Lappin
right.
mentioned that in one of his podcasts also. There's going to be so many good players that are cut and released. You're going to see a lot of Bengal players claimed or waiver claims put in for them. The wide receivers, there's going to be some tough cuts there. They could go 7 there. I doubt that.
I think they will.
I
think they have to.
Yeah, because Yoshivas, if they cut him, he's going to get cut. But you have to.
They're not. Those two guys are getting cut.
No, but wide receiver 5 and 6, your last 2 wide receivers have to perform on special teams. And I don't think Yoshivas has played a lot of special teams. They have him doing that now to see what he can do. And he's going to do that week 1 against the Packers and these other games against Atlanta. And so that's going to be interesting to see. But if they cut him, he's getting claimed. So they won't cut him.
Yeah, they're not cutting him
on the active roster. But there's so many good players out there. The cornerbacks are really – every beat writer, Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, all these guys are just raving. Paul Daner, every one of them, James Rapine about DJ Ivey, DJ Turner. These defensive backs are just absolutely playing lights out, and that's great to see because we're young back there.
Yes.
And, we talked about it a few episodes ago. Lou Anarumo is a DB coach. That's a defensive coordinator now. He knows how to draft and develop defensive backs.
Well, Charlie Jones, obviously being one of those guys right now that's a little banged up, right? Went down with his shoulder. Coach said that he's going to be day to day. I think. I think Charlie Jones makes this. I think Yosivas makes this. I think those two guys are locks. That gives you 5. I think Trent Irwin makes it. I think he's a lock. I don't think there's any doubt about Trent Irwin making this roster. Joe Burrow loves him. Trent Irwin is making this roster. So you got the 2 rookies, you got Trent Irwin, and then you got the 3 Migos. That's 6 right there. Yep. There is no way that the Bengals are not going to keep 7 receivers. I would be shocked if they do not keep 7 receivers. Obviously, Trent Taylor – say what you will about Trent Taylor, Mom, but he wasn't a game breaker. He wasn't this crazy dynamic punt returner, but he was pretty damn good. And Trent Taylor is a pretty damn good wide receiver. He's solid. If he's 7, I'm good with that. Because again, Charlie Jones, you don't think so? Charlie Jones, a little banged up. I just don't see the Bengals not keeping 7 guys. I just don't see it.
If they keep 7, they could. If they do keep 7, which could happen, number 7 is going to be Stanley Morgan. He's a special teams demon. He doesn't give us a lot in the wide receiver, catching, but he is so important. And I personally think Trent Taylor's going to be out because punt return, very reliable. He's just not flashy. I think that belongs to Charlie Jones now. Now, if Charlie Jones, that shoulder flares up or doesn't heal properly, Trent Taylor's going to be on there. Jones, obviously, no thought of them cutting him. There's no way that's going to happen. But Yoshivas, Stanley Morgan, Trent Taylor, those guys are going to be fighting for 2 spots. I mean, 2 of those guys are going to be fighting. 3 of those guys are going to be fighting for 2 spots.
For 2 spots.
3 guys.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to disagree with you, Mom. I'm going to say Josephus is not fighting for a spot. He is going to make this roster. I don't think there's a doubt about it. I really don't think there's a doubt. You do bring up a good point with Stanley Morgan Jr. because he really doesn't bring a lot to the table catching a football. But remember, when Coach Taylor has put him in there, he has been a hell of a blocker. He's done everything that the coaching staff has asked him to do, and he's a special teams ace.
Yes.
So, oh man, I think
it's going to come down. It's going to come down to Morgan and Taylor. I agree with you on Yoshivas. There's no way they can cut him because he'll get claimed. He'll probably be inactive the first few games of the season. He's a phenomenal talent, but it's going to come down to Taylor and Morgan for that final spot. So, again, it's a good problem to have because we have a good roster.
Very good problem to have. So, again, you talked about the DBs. They have looked just special. Everybody is raving about him, like you said. The kid from Miami, DJ Ivey. I mean, he was a guy that you and I kind of talked about practice squad in the beginning of all of this when we started talking about rosters. This guy could make the 53, Maan. He is good, really good player. He's long, he's athletic, he's versatile. I think that DB room and I think that wide receiver room is just going to be so much fun to watch and see who makes this roster, this 53-man roster.
The preseason games are going to be huge for Ivy. He's been lighting it up in practice, but his play these next 3 games are going to be key for him. They're going to keep 6 cornerbacks and 4 safeties. It's going to be a dogfight there. You're going to have 5 guys fighting for maybe 1 or 2 spots. And it's not – I mean, there's going to be some really good football players cut. I know somebody you're not really crazy about, but you heard what Charles Burke said.
I knew you were going to bring this up. I knew sometime tonight Jalen Davis was going to be brought up. So just give it to me, Maan. Let's talk about Jalen Davis.
But Jalen Davis, Burke said that he could start for many teams. He's that good. Yeah. But still, I think he's on the outside looking in now. There's just not enough spots.
It's crazy.
And we know it got Cheeto, you got DJ Turner, you got Mike Hilton, you got Cam Taylor Britt.
That's 4.
I think Sidney Jones could be on the those they're locks. That's 4. Yeah. And of course,
Alan George.
They picked up Alan George.
You got Alan George, right? Alan George, I think, is a lock. I think he's a lock.
It's going to be. I hope so. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. They only keep 6 corners.
I really think the battle at safety is pretty much locked down unless something goes crazy. I think you're going to have Nick Scott, you're going to have Jordan Battle, you're going to have Michael Thomas, and obviously you're going to have Dax Hill. I think those 4 guys are pretty much locks at safety. I think those are your 4 safeties unless something goes awry. I can't imagine anyone pushing one of those guys out. Again, you talk about Michael Thomas. He is the Stanley Morgan on defense, right? He is the guy that does whatever the staff asks him to do. He is a special teams ace. He was a captain last year. I think those 4 guys at safety are locked. So I do think that DB battle is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Valid points. I agree with everything that you said there. I believe that the roster spot for Michael Thomas is going to come down to Stanley Morgan because I think Tyson Anderson has a good shot of making it as the 4th safety. He was a high, he was a draft pick last year. Measurables are through the roof: 6'3", 215, 4'4". Thomas is a key special teams player, but if they keep Morgan, I think that might make it easier to let him go. It's going to be these next 3 preseason games are key for Tyson Anderson. We'll see how that shakes out. It is. It's a good problem to have, Jake.
It's a very good problem to have, Maan. And let's talk about another very good problem to have, right? And that is the situation right now with these contracts. A very good problem to have. And, again, I don't think Duke Tobin gets enough credit. I know that we talk about him, and as Bengal fans, we love him and we appreciate everything. Everybody in the Cincinnati bubble, we all know how much Duke Tobin has meant to this organization. But I don't think people talk enough about Duke Tobin because, I'm not a guy that says I told you so, Maan. You know that. I do not like saying I told you so. But I told you that this Bengals team would get all of these guys signed, and they are going to do that. And that is because of Duke Tobin, number one. And that is because of I call them the brown ladies, but these brown women are they are crushing it, Mon. We are so lucky to have them taking over and running this organization now. So again, we're going to talk about the Logan Wilson sign and what this means to this football team. I just real quick, I just want your thoughts on what Duke Tobin has meant to this organization.
I think you just hit it right on the head. When this happened, I tweeted this out. If I was the owner of another NFL team, I would ask my GM, what in the hell are the Bengals doing? Let me give you an example. Okay. Let me give you an example.
I didn't see that tweet, but that is a great tweet. That is a great tweet.
Roquan Smith signed for $20 million a year.
Yeah, that's a clown show.
He's a great player. I'm not going to say he's a good player. Aaron, you're a Raven fan that always comes in and our message
He's a good
board
player.
there. He's a good player. Is he $11 million better a year than Logan Wilson? No, he's not.
Not even close. Not
even close. So that owner's looking at that GM say, hey, man, what the heck's going on here? We got Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt cheaper than Roquan Smith. And
not just cheaper, Mom, but a lot cheaper. I mean,
two players for $19 million a year.
Yes.
18 million a year. Yeah.
18, right? 17,
yeah,
18, something like that.
Yeah.
Roquan is what's Roquan? He was 5 years, 100 million, 60 million guaranteed, and the Bengals go out. And again, let's not forget. I don't want to make this Bengal Pulse about how moronic the Ravens organization has become. We all know there are a bunch of idiots running that organization, but you go out and you give again, he's good. Roquan Smith is good, but everybody laughed when they gave him $20 million a year because that's just insane money. That is just stupid money for an off-ball linebacker. It is stupid money. And not only that, it almost cost them getting their quarterback. It almost cost them getting their best player, going out and giving that clown $20 million a year. And what does Duke Tobin do? He goes out and he re-signs, I think, the best linebacking core in the NFL with those two guys. I think you could argue that. I think you could argue that those two have become a top 3 linebacking tandem in the NFL. And he goes out. We got Logan Wilson now for 5 years, Mon. 5 more years of Logan Wilson. Jermaine Pratt for 3. You got that tandem together for the next 3 years guaranteed. That is just insane, Mon. It is insane. Look what Duke Tobin has done. Before we even get to the T. Higgins, which is coming, probably sooner rather than later, and before we get to Joe Burrow, he has, again, I say him, but I know that the brown women are also involved in this. But Blackburn, you go out, I know they're the Blackburns, but I call them the brown women. But yes, the brown women, and again, I know Katie and all of them. I know that they're all a part of this, but Duke Tobin goes out. He restructures Joe Mixon's contract, right? Which is huge. Now we get Joe Mixon for another for two more years at least. You go out and you re-sign one of the top pass rushers in the NFL, and Trey Hendrickson. So now you got him for 2 years. In the offseason, you get Orlando Brown, one of the best left tackles in the game, hands down. I think you could argue that. You go out, you get Jermaine Pratt, who was one of the top PFF linebackers last year in the NFL. Then you come right back and you extend Logan Wilson, who, if it wasn't for an awful pass interference call, is probably the MVP of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. It's just, it's incredible to me what Duke Tobin is doing. I thought that they would get it done. I really believed in my heart that this was going to happen, but to see it happening is just incredible. It really is incredible.
Yeah, we talk about the Bengal locker room being so tight and special. Joe Burrow, the Joe Burrow effect. I think that's in play here. And I think you're going to see a problem developing in Baltimore in a minute. I'm going to go over it in a second. I was looking it up while you were talking. Real quick about PFF. Number 11th ranked linebacker per PFF. A lot of people don't care about PFF. Was Jermaine Pratt. Number 17 was Logan Wilson. Number 26 was Roquan Smith. Okay, so just remember that. What's Patrick Queen going to want? What's he going to want next year?
Yeah.
He's going to want Roquan Smith money, and he's not going to get it. So what's going to happen? It's going to have division in that locker room. You're going to have angry players. You're going to have a disgruntled Patrick Queen. They're not going to pay 2 linebackers $20 million a year. You know they're not.
No.
And so just remember that. We have harmony in our locker room. We have this team unity, all these leaders that they've drafted, all these team captains in college that have moved over to the NFL. They're in the Bengal locker room. That's why the Bengals are who they are. I mean, they're one of the elite teams in football now. I don't care what anybody says. That's a fact. They are. And the team chemistry is huge. Just monitor the Patrick Queen situation in Baltimore. You wait and see what's going to happen. They had that problem last year with Lamar when Lamar was injured. There was talk about this. Why is he not playing? This, that, and this. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. But you're right. I mean, Duke Tobin, the Blackburns, all of them, they're running a tight ship. And I love the press conference today from Logan Wilson, what he said. He doesn't want to play for any other head coach but Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, we said it last week and the week before, he takes care of his players, and they know it. And guess what? They talk to their friends on other teams. They hear like, oh, yeah, my coach made us do this. Our coach made us do that. God, we don't do that in Cincinnati. Guess what? When that player becomes a free agent, he's going to think about Cincinnati. Just remember that. And we got a good thing going, Jake. We got a really good thing going.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, watching that today, that Zach Taylor's presser, and then leading into Logan Wilson's, what Logan Wilson said today, I think, is just so apropos for where this organization is going, right? Logan Wilson, you heard him say it. He's, Zach Taylor has built this culture now in Cincinnati, and nobody wants to leave. Everybody wants to be a part of this thing. And, everybody was so worried about there's no way the Bengals are going to be able to do this. There's no way these players are going to take less money to be in Cincinnati. You're wrong. You are wrong. The Joe Burrow effect is real. Now we're starting to see a Zach Taylor effect in Cincinnati, Maan. And you are wrong if you think these players know how special this team is right now. And I said it before. I said it when all of this started months ago. Logan Wilson's going to be a Bengal for a long time. T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal for a long time. And Joe Burrow is going to be a Bengal for a long time. I do think it's very interesting, Maan, right? All we talk about is the T. Higgins and the Joe Burrow and these contracts, Tyler Boyd even. But the Bengals going out and securing that defense, I think it speaks volumes of how good this defense really is and how underrated it really is. You know what I mean? You think about this Bengals defense and what they have accomplished. And I know I sound, because you're on that defensive bandwagon during the regular season. I'm on the offensive bandwagon. We're going back and forth. It makes really good Bengal Pulse episodes. But this Bengals defense, Maan, has just been incredible. They've been spectacular. You look back at that in Kansas City AFC Championship game, and yes, we lost 23-20. but our defense was lights out that game, man. Kansas City goes 2 weeks later and puts 40 on the Philadelphia Eagles, who was arguably the hottest team in football at the time. The Bengals go out and they secure this defense. And I'm telling you right now, Mon, DJ Reader, when the smoke clears, DJ Reader is going to be coming back too. It's just
I hope you're right on that. I hope you're right. I think I'm sure they're talking to him right now. That would be great to see. Jake, I think they had to sign Logan and Pratt. It was just very. I agree with you. Pratt, we knew signed. Logan, they wanted that to happen. I think there was a sense of urgency because losing Bates and Bell. I'm not trying to be negative here. They were the glue to that secondary and to that defense. They knew Lou Anarumo's defense. Now, guess what? Guess who the new leaders are, the new coaches on the field? That's going to be Logan and Jermaine. They're going to help that young secondary. They're going to help them guys out, get them in position. I think that with, Bell leaving, I'm like, hey, I know Logan Wilson was important. He was high on the scale to re-sign. I think it went up a notch when Von Bell left. And I'm glad he's there. This defense, let's flip roles this year. I want the defense. I want the offense to pick it up a notch. Our offense has been good. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, how can you talk bad about him? But I want a little bit more consistency from the running game. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And those first 5-6 games, let that offense take the pressure off the defense a little bit while those young guys in the secondary learn how to play and adapt to the NFL.
Agreed. Well, real quick, that Logan Wilson deal, Mon, I think he was due like a little over $3 million this year in the last year of his contract. It's a 4-year extension worth up to $37.2 million, somewhere around there. So it ends up being right now on the books, Logan Wilson, 5 years, right around $40 million, about $8 million a year for arguably a top 10 off-ball linebacker. It's incredible. I mean, it is incredible, man. It really is.
He basically got $9 million more this year in a signing bonus to go on top of his salary. So he's getting $11 million this year, $11 million next year. So he's getting $22 million very fast. And like he said, him and his wife are emotional. They have financial security for life. It's generational money. It's his kids, grandkids. He's set for life. And he's such a great player. And I just listening to that press conference today, it was so just felt good to be a Bengal fan. You know what I mean? It really did. With what's happening with the Reds, I needed that press conference today.
Yes, I did too. I needed that news this week. And I do want to say this. I don't want to take credit for any of this because obviously the $40 million, I'll give that the credit. But just remember this one. I was able to meet Logan Wilson a couple months ago, and we met. We talked a little football for a couple minutes, and I said to him, Logan, we need you in Cincinnati for a long time. And he looked at me and said, Jake, I want it done. I want to be here. I'm trying to get it done. So I feel like I might be a little bit a part of this, just a little, maybe just a little tad a part of Logan Wilson returning to Bengal. I'm so glad he is because I'm going to tell you, Mom, I only got to talk to him for a couple minutes, but what you see at that press conference is very genuine. He is a very genuine dude. He is a good dude. He is a down-to-earth dude. He is just a good guy, man. And what you see, that perception of him, that's who he is. And you're right, man. You listen to these Bengal players talk, and I love all the Bengal the Bengal social media stuff. I don't know if you saw last week when the guys are walking to practice and they're asking them to imitate their teammates. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was funny. That was really funny.
I mean, this is just it's just a fun team, and they are, man. They're a tight knit group, so it is very exciting to see. Very happy to have Logan Wilson in stripes for the next 5 years. That's just crazy to say that. it's just awesome. So thank you to the Brown women / Blackburns, and thank you, Duke Tobin, for everything you do for this organization. Maan, hopefully we are talking about another contract situation here in the next couple days. Maan, if one of these other two break, we might have to have an emergency Bengal Pulse podcast, because it is going to break the internet if you go Logan Wilson, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow within a week. It's going to break the Bengals internet.
Yeah, I think Burrow signs within 2 weeks. Burrow's going to sign his contract within the next 2 weeks.
You think T is going to be before that?
Higgins is going to sign a contract with the Bengals. I'm not changing anything. I've said it, but Jake, I'm not going to lie to you. His agent and the Bengals don't mesh. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a drawn out process. If any contract potentially falls off the rails, it could be that one.
Mm-hmm.
I still expect them to sign. I really do. I think Chase, I think Burrow, they want him. Bengal management knows it. I think they're just probably trying to find a little middle ground there to make it happen. But it just concerns me because that agent and the Bengals just have had issues.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I do think, though, the Jesse Bates situation, and I think the T. Higgins situation is a little bit different. I don't think you can really compare those two situations. I just think it's different. And the Bengals were never going to give Jesse what he wanted. It just wasn't going to happen because of where the Bengals are financially and where they are with their contracts. And, I just think it was like a perfect storm with Jesse. I think T. Higgins is a little bit different of a situation. And I understand what you're saying about the agent, but I just think this is a little bit different of a situation. I think T. Higgins, number one, I think T. Higgins wants to be here just as much as anyone in that organization. And I also think, T. Higgins knows that Joe Burrow is going to be here for a very long time. And, going out there and catching balls from Joe Burrow, who is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, it's a little bit different than playing on the other side of the ball at safety. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just think it's a little bit different.
We don't know what T's agent is asking for, where he has his player bracketed. I think T wants anywhere from 20 to 25 million a year. Maybe his agent wants more, because we expect Chase to get 30 to 35. Yeah. It's a big unknown. All said and done, T. Higgins is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal for years to come. I really think he's going to sign a contract. All I'm saying is I think that one could be the last one because his agent's a little tough.
I agree. And I don't disagree with you. I'm just talking about the Jesse and the T situation. I think those are different. Yeah. Well, Mom, before we get out of here, we got to talk about it. What the hell is going on with our Reds? I mean, just, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, Mon, but since July 14th, they are batting under 230 as a team. What the hell? And I'll tell you this. Again, I don't want to go. This is not a Reds podcast, but I'm hurt right now. I'm hurt. And when my favorite player of all time, Barry Larkin, says on national TV that the Reds are playing uninspired baseball, that hurts because I agree with him. They just look like they don't care right now. Am I the only one that's getting that feeling?
I heard him say that, and I heard Sadak. You could tell the Sadak's voice in the game. He just seems uninspired. He's upset calling the game because they're losing. This is just my opinion. When the trade deadline passed and they didn't attempt to get a starting pitcher, I don't think they've won a game since. And I think the players see that, and they're like, hell, management's not even trying to. We're in a pennant. We have a chance to win this division. They're not even going to get us a pitcher. And I just disagree with some of the experts. I've been reading, and Larkin said it today. I don't want them to give up a top-tier AAA prospect to go get a pitcher for 1 year, just for a rental. But they could have got there's lower-tier players in AA ball that they could have traded to pick up a player that could help them. The Reds are only 2 games back. and they just don't have the arms. We've talked about it. And unfortunately, I think they're probably going to finish in third because they just don't have the horses in the bullpen. They really don't. And it's a shame. And I wish they were just a little bit more aggressive. It doesn't mean they had to sell the farm to go get players, but they could have went out and got a couple. And I think the players maybe see that, and they've been in a slump since. They gave up 36 runs in 2 games. 36 runs in 2 games.
I know it's crazy, right? I mean that is just insane to think about that. Now, obviously they they come back from the All-Star break, and they haven't played terrible. I mean, when we talk about from the All-Star break coming out of it, because I mean they did go out, they beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3, right? So you think they're going to be on this roll because they beat the Dodgers 9-0 the last game. But Mon, and yes, they beat the Cubs by a run. Mon, this team has now lost 6 games in a row to 2 teams that are below average to be nice. I mean, I know the Cubs have been on a roll, but like you said, you give up 36 runs in 2 games. I don't know, man. I am. They got the Marlins coming into town, and the Marlins are tough right now.
They are.
I mean, this is.
The Cubs scored more points in 2 games than the Ravens scored in 2 games against the Bengals in the regular season last year. So,
I love it. Let's end the podcast on that note. Mon, that was just perfect. All right, Bengal fans, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. Once again, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. If you liked it, please give Maan that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate that. Follow him on Twitter at @TheFireMon. Follow me at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow the Bengals Pulse at Bengals_Pulse 9. Again, if you want those tickets to Bengals Packers coming up on Friday, we are going to. When are we going to announce, Mon? On Tuesday?
We have to do it on Wednesday. By Wednesday, let's
do it by Wednesday. I like it.
Yeah, don't forget we did ask for 1,500 followers. We're still going to give them away if we don't get to that. Correct?
Yes, but let's get to at least 1,000. Give us 1,000, guys. Give us 1,000. We'll be happy with that. But yeah, so we'll shoot for Wednesday just so we can try to see if we can get some more out there. Follow us on Instagram, the same without the app, Bengals_Pulse 9. And as always, guys, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. Once again, he is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We will see you soon.
See you guys.